Hello, BookTube. I've got a tiny bit of mail for you today, just a couple of packages to get back into the swing of mail. I am still in the habit. I was gone from BookTube for a month, and I fell completely out of the habit of opening mail on camera. I need to get back into that habit. We've got a couple of packages here, one enormous and one tiny, both of them light as a feather. So Steve is not expecting to squeal in this video. And also a book that isn't either, a book that I pulled out of a little free library. The temperature today soared. It got so much warmer today. The temperature actually went up to 19 degrees Fahrenheit, as opposed to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. It went up to 19 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's still 4 inches of solid steel hard ice covering literally everything in the world. It's still incredibly dangerous for a frail old man to walk around even an inch outside. There are still frozen over, slicked over, then refrozen snowbanks everywhere you want to go, but at least it's a balmy 19 degrees. So Frida and I walked a little bit, because we're both going stir crazy not being able to do our usual walks. And we came across a little free library, and I found a book that I grabbed it. It wasn't a BookTube purchase, but it was a BookTube motivated. It was this, Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, her Dust Bowl novel, her California Dust Bowl novel, centering on a strong female character who has all the 19th century patriarchy against her, the early 20th century patriarchy against her. This came out in when 2021, and I read it at the time. I thought it was a bit on the bland side. It is clearly taking aim at the Grapes of Wrath, and you if you're going to take aim at the Grapes of Wrath, you'd best have both cartridges full, and this one doesn't. Whether John Steinbeck was a man or not. But I liked lots of it. I've never not liked a book by this author. So, it was ripe for a reread anyway. Maybe this kind of book was on my mind because of the massive buy of books like this at the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston. They recently bought 10,000, 60,000, 100,000 books just like this. Previous big books, whether they were bestsellers or not, previous books that everybody reviewed, everybody talked about them. And now they're gone. And they're not coming back. No one's ever going to reprint this book. No one's ever going to put it on school curriculum. No one's ever going to do anything with it at all. I don't know what this is. And I don't know what the 100,000 other books in that buy actually are. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I thought about it when I saw them all. I wrote about it on Steve Reads. I might write about it again, because I still have not figured out what I saw and what it means. Although, in response to that Steve Reads article that I wrote, and in response to a couple of mentions of mine, quite a few of you out there have said that you avoid the problem of the ephemerality of current books by not reading any current books. You just read classics. I definitely felt that. I'm not going to do that, but I definitely felt that. But that buy at the Brattle, of course, it underscored this book, but it didn't motivate me to pull it out of the little free library and carry it, which was no small thing, because I need both hands wide open and in terror just to navigate the sidewalks when it's like this, this freakish weather that just will not abate. It just will not stop. So it was a major investment for me to grab this, but I did. But I didn't grab it because of that sale at the Brattle. I grabbed it because of Sarah at the Book Schnitter, who has just recently finished Kristen Hanna's latest book about the set in the Vietnam War, not in the Dust Bowl. That I talked about it on Cedarburg Public Library's Books of the Week, and I thought that it was very good, extremely strong novel, extremely accomplished. More so, I think, than anything this author has written so far. So I grabbed this in light of that as well, because I was watching a booktuber that I watch every day read this author. And Sarah also has read a lot of Kristen Hanna. So I got that. I got the Four Winds, which I will give another try. I will give this another try this weekend. But we also have packages. One little one and one big one, but they're both wafer thin and light as a feather. So then it's unlikely they're going to have anything that's going to set Steve over the moon. We shall see. No, well, the first one is a Penguin Classic. I do occasionally get Penguin Classics in the mail. And of course, I love Penguin Classics. Absolutely love them. However, seeing that it's a Penguin Classic, I just glanced at it. I didn't see what it was, but seeing that it was a Penguin Classic, it doesn't cause quite the same reaction in me that it has in previous years or previous decades. Because the Penguin Classic line has recently adopted a publishing agenda. They always had a publishing mission to republish it in affordable format, in critically curated, affordable format, paperback editions of the great classics of the world. But in the last 6 or 7 years, their formula, their agenda has become, far sharper and also far more predictable. They've adopted your grandparents were horrible people agenda of, we at Penguin Classics are now going to start to publish books that are trivial or that are not classics. The author's still alive. The book is still in print. We're going to start to do that in order to redress a social balance. We are going to right historical wrongs rather than keep reprinting the canon of dead white old people. I don't know that that's how they would phrase it in their editorial meetings. I don't know what those editorial meetings were like, but I guarantee you they happened because suddenly in, let's say, a 5-month period, let's say 8 Penguin Classics appear. 7 of them will be books that don't belong in the Penguin Classic line, that are modern or trivial or... Let's just see what this one is. I still love them. I still love Penguin, and I actually like the experimentation volume. I just wish that Penguin to come up with a different line, just create a different imprint than the Penguin Classics for stuff that you are using to make a political point. You are not saying these books that we're plucking from the ancient depths of 1979 are actually classic works of literature. You're not saying that. You're picking these to make political points. And maybe those points need making, and maybe you earnestly want to make them. I would just wish that you weren't doing it as Penguin Classics. That's all. The books themselves I have found almost uniformly interesting. If maybe Penguin could revive in America their modern classics line and do that. But let's see what this one is. Oh, okay, all right. Well, this one is... I don't know that I'd still put it in the Penguin Classic line. I'd put it in the Penguin Modern Classic line where it has been for years and years. But it's not what I was railing against. How interesting. This is Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse with a appropriately psychedelic cover there. That's interesting. By the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature. That is printed on the cover. You cannot remove that. And the translation is by David Horrocks. So this is not the translation that I recently reviewed. This is a different, competing translation. Okay, great. Well, what do we have here? At first glance, see, I might be okay in 30 years, 40 years with putting a Hermann Hesse novel in the Penguin Classic line. I don't think it would be Steppenwolf. I don't know. Well, anyway, at first glance, Harry Haller seems like a respectable, educated man. In reality, he is the Steppenwolf, wild, strange, alienated from society, and repulsed by the modern age. But as he is drawn into a series of dreamlike and sometimes savage encounters, accompanied by, among others, Mozart, Goethe, and the bewitching Hermione, the misanthropic Haller undergoes a spiritual, even psychedelic journey, and ultimately discovers a higher truth and the possibility of happiness. This blistering portrait of a man who feels himself to be half human and half wolf was the Bible of the 1960s counterculture, capturing the mood of a disaffected generation. And I reread it just recently. I'll try to remember to leave a link down below. I reread it just recently in a new translation, but it wasn't by David Horrocks. So this will actually be a new experience for me. I will have not only the older translation of Steppenwolf in that white mass-market paperback that we all read in the 1960s, but also... Was it Damien Searles who did the translation that I reviewed? I'll have that in mind as well. And now this one. So that's great. I mean, how many years have I gone on? Not necessarily in calling for inclusion in the Penguin Classic line, which I maybe irrationally venerate, but how many years have I been saying we need a new translation of all of Hermann Hesse? How many years have I been saying that? So great. Now there are 2 new translations of this work. Okay, so that's a Penguin Classic, and then we have another thing. This is one of these vacuum pack things. It's big, but it's light as a feather. Whatever's in here did not need to be in here. It could have been put in a manila envelope easily. So let's see what we have here. It's a bit of a mess. Let's see. Okay, what is this? What on earth is this? Is it an invoice? It is. How gross. All right, let's see. Oh, but we do have a pub sheet for this. Okay, this is by Constance Fay, and it is called Chaos, which is book 3 in the Uncharted Hearts series. Really nice cover there. What is this? Readers who've been wishing for a science fiction read with all the pulse-pounding action and high heat of recent Romantasy blockbusters need look no further than Constance Fay's Uncharted Hearts series. Each book focuses on a different interstellar couple and stands alone. Following Fay's critically acclaimed Calamity and Fiasco, sci-fi romance lovers can get their next fix of banter and thrills in this book, which comes out in early March. So what about the book? Engineer Karo Ogonyemi thinks she has everything in control. Sure, she has a dark secret in her past, and aims so bad that she can't shoot the side of a spaceship while she's right in front of it, but those are minor details in the life of a space mercenary. Okay, all right, I'm not going to rail against this thing. I'm not going to do it. But you wouldn't be a space mercenary if you had bad aim. When Karo embarks on a solo mission infiltrating a prison planet that is run by a deadly Pierce family, she embraces the opportunity to prove she's a hero. But we don't know that she's a hero. She can't do her job. Why would anybody give her this mission? It's there that Karo meets Leviathan, a super soldier with a chip in his head that turns him into a mindless killer. He's drop-dead gorgeous, with an emphasis on drop-dead, until she touches... That's kind of neat. Drop-dead gorgeous with an emphasis on drop-dead. That's kind of neat. Until she touches him and renders his chip inert. The danger begins when she lets him go. Okay, is she a technician? Maybe she's better tech than she is an aim? How could she dismantle his chip? Well, I guess you'll read the book to find out. I haven't read the first 2 books. What were they called again? Calamity and Fiasco. I haven't read them. But the pub sheet says this is standalone, so I'm going to take it at its word. In the heart of enemy territory, where love is at stake, life is treacherous and time is short. Karo and Leviathan must figure out how to recover his agency, protect her crew from Pierce's sinister machinations. Why does she have a crew? She has a crew? When she's bad at her job? And stage a prison break. It's the next book in the series, you know it is. A prison break before Leviathan is lost to her and himself forever. Okay. Well, I'm going to take this. This comes out in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to take this pub sheet at its word and read this on its own. I don't know the other 2 books. I know my audience well enough to know that some of you merely had to hear that word romantasy in order to pull back in sheer revulsion. And I know that a couple of you think that the incredible fad of romantasy has literally ruined American publishing. Not just science fiction or romance, but all of it. Not just fantasy and romance, but all of it. It is obviously a book talk thing. With performative readers who don't read anything, turning on the camera, sitting in bed, covered in fluffy clothing with open boxes of chocolate. They get ready as the camera is counting down, and then they start by opening the book and bawling their eyes out. But here's a brand new book. I've never read it before. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to open it up and film myself reading the first sentence, and I'm going to start bawling my eyes out. Gets 1 million clicks. I myself don't have that strong a reaction to the word romantasy, although I thoroughly hate Legends and Lattes. Not for any kind of social reasons, because it's just so dumb. It is so insulting to its readers. I'll have to hope that this is different. I'll have to hope that it's better. It sounds like a bare bones interesting story. We will see. So there you go. 3 books, two new. Chaos, which is the 3rd book in the Uncharted Hearts series, and the new Penguin Classic edition of Steppenwolf by Romantasy, and also The 4 Winds by Kristen Hanna, which I have not read in a few years. Maybe time to give it another try and see if it impresses me anymore. So there you go. Just a couple of books to talk about. I don't need much excuse to talk books with you. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. I'll try to remember to leave a link to my review of the other new Steppenwolf translation. It must be somewhere. I forget where it ran, but it must be somewhere. But if I don't, simply Google it or ask David Murphy. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.